Over the weekend, Destiny 2 game director Joe Blackburn tweeted out that we'd be getting a big ol' state of the game for Destiny 2 today, and it just dropped. It's kinda chonky, so I'll do my best to give you all the important information summarized, as well as some of my thoughts on each topic as well. But real quick, let me tell you about Raycon. They're the sponsor of today's video. Raycon is premium audio at the perfect price point, so you can build great habits without breaking the bank. Whether you're looking for a pair of everyday earbuds, low latency gaming headphones, or a speaker with a battery that will last all night at your next party, Raycon's got you covered. And you better believe that Raycon start at half the price of other premium audio brands. With that kind of quality and price, it's really no surprise that Raycon's everyday earbuds have over 50,000 5-star reviews. There's a ton of reasons why you'll love these earbuds, but here's my top 2. They've got these custom gel tips for a really comfortable ear fit. I can go jogging with them and never have to worry about them falling off or being uncomfortable in my ear. And on top of that, they have 8 hours of playtime at full charge. Even if I forget to charge them and just leave them laying around, I can put them in and know that I'm pretty much good to go. You can use these earbuds however you want, but for me, I use them at the gym, for when I go on walks, when I jog, even when I cook dinner. And I love the fact that they're wireless. No wires to get tangled up in my hands when I'm reaching for things cooking and nothing like that. Non-complicated, so easy to listen to. Ready to buy something small with a big impact? Click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/fallout to get 15% off your Raycon purchase, and thank you, Raycon. All right, we back, and here we go. Bungie first tells us their goal for what they want to change in the game leading up to the final shape. They want to expand players' imaginations, bring challenge back to Destiny, enrich our content, and connect our guardians. They mentioned that none of these goals will be achieved with one easy change and are going to require a lot of work and maintenance overall. First up, expanding players' imaginations. Sorry. The new season in Lightfall is officially called Season of Defiance, and they tell us right out the gate that this season was officially wrapped up before their new 2023 goals were put into place. So if you enter Season of Defiance and think to yourself, hey man, those 4 goals they talked about weren't addressed, it's because they already had that season wrapped a little while ago. However, they still want to reduce in-game complexity, and as they've mentioned before, part of that is by doing away with umbrals and umbral energies. In order to focus seasonal weapons or engrams, all you need is Glimmer and a seasonal engram. Beautiful. Also, seasonal engrams will be stored and tracked on seasonal vendors, so managing the engram bucket in your inventory will be a tad easier. Also, Bungie is adding something new to the game, keys, which will drop throughout your playtime that'll allow you to get better loot from the chest at the end of any seasonal activity. Unlike current seasonal currencies, keys won't drop every time you complete an activity. To compensate, they've made the base rewards for each seasonal activity completion better. That way, when you spend a key, it will actually feel meaningful rather than a requirement to engage in the seasonal playlist. Keys will also potentially be able to drop from seasonal activities by default, meaning you are no longer required to play content outside of the seasonal playlist to chase seasonal rewards. Definitely an interesting change there. I like the idea of keys, and I like the fact that they'll drop in the seasonal activity by default. GG. On top of those changes, players can also expect fewer total vendor upgrades, with each individual upgrade being more potent and even offering a variance on the way you interact with the seasonal activity. They also want to continue to make the game less confusing by having better named progression systems and currencies. After Season of Defiance, we also have the official name of Season 21, Season of the Deep. After taking a lot of player feedback, Season of the Deep will not feature the same old vendor upgrade paradigm that we've become so accustomed to lately. Thank God. The same will apparently also be true for Season 22. Joe mentions that they really want to start experimenting with more, quote, fresh activity experiences, and that Lightfall already has a really different tone and setting from the Witch Queen. Joe goes on to very briefly touch on Guardian ranks in Lightfall and beyond. No longer will the number next to your name be a representation of how much you've grinded the season pass. Instead, it'll be a representation of your experience as a Guardian and the challenges you faced and overcame, i.e. your Guardian rank. Moving on to weapon crafting, Joe bullet points a lot of goals that they'd like to accomplish come Lightfall and beyond. In order to allow non-crafted weapons to be on the same level as crafted weapons in Lightfall, many non-crafted weapons will soon have the ability to become enhanced. That feature will start with new raid adepts this year. Enhancing allows your dropped weapons to start leveling up just the same way as a crafted weapon does, including the ability to have enhanced perks and enhanced intrinsic properties. Translation: enhancing a weapon allows you to enhance weapon perks the same way a crafted weapon does, but you just never crafted the weapon to begin with. For example, maybe you got a great random drop on a weapon that you were planning on eventually crafting, but surprise, the weapon you randomly got via a drop had a great roll that you really like. Now you can just enhance it to beef up those regular perks to their enhanced versions and you're good to go. They're planning on rolling that out with Lightfall raid adepts at the launch of Season of the Deep. Long term, they want to expand that to most of their new non-crafted weapon drops in the game. For crafted weapons, you will no longer get a deep sight drop, aka a red border on a weapon, unless it's something you need to make pattern progress on and that you can craft. That change does make sense considering Bungie recently mentioned they are removing resonant elements, aka the Dorito crafting currency come Lightfall. In a big change, beginning in Season of the Deep, they'll also be adding a mechanism to activate deep sight on any craftable weapon that you don't have a pattern for. Translation: if I'm trying to get a craftable submission SMG, and I am, and I get one to drop from the Vow raid, but aw shucks, it's not a red border drop. I wave a magic wand, however you do it, they didn't mention it, probably spend some currency or some bullshit, and presto changeo, I've now just made it a deep sight. That is awesome and helps take some RNG pain out of weapon crafting. Next up, the topic of bringing challenge back to Destiny. As they'd already mentioned in their ability tuning preview the other week, Bungie is moderately increasing ability recharge time across a wide selection of abilities. Again, that is to alleviate the current situation in D2 where Bungie feels that abilities dominate too many engagements in game, which I agree with. They're also adjusting the amount of damage resist granted by resilience in the game and increasing the energy cost of Resil mods from 1 to 2 for minor and 3 to 4 for major armor mods. I think I remember them mentioning somewhere that tier 10 Resil will give 30% damage resist in Lightfall rather than the current 40, which I still think is fairly strong and will be the default go-to option, but at least it'll be more expensive to build into. Regarding enemy difficulty, Bungie is happy with the level of challenge in Heist Battlegrounds, which they used a difficulty knob for that enforces exactly how over-leveled they allow us to be. Taking what they learned from Heist Battlegrounds, Bungie is taking the same concept of the difficulty knob from Heist and applying it to the Vanguard Ops playlist come Lightfall. They do mention it won't be quite as intense, but they want to crank the knob a tad to make Vanguard Ops more engaging. That approach to power and difficulty is also going to be present when we're in Neomuna, the new location in Lightfall. Joe mentions that they're planning on experimenting even more over the next year. Bungie feels that there are some major issues with power in D2 and that it prevents players from seeing some of the game's best content, so expect big changes to the system in the final shape. I think a lot of people are predicting that in the final shape, Bungie will completely 86 power level right out of the game, but time will tell. They also casually mentioned that as part of the great ongoing power experiment, they don't plan on raising the power or pinnacle cap in Season of the Deep at all, which is wild. I think a lot of people would be happy to see power either very simplified or flat out removed from D2 at this point. I kind of think that the adding the challenge back to D2 is a great goal to hit in 2023, but I gotta admit, I'm hoping they do more on the high end of the scale. Don't get me wrong, really loving the difficulty knob addition to Vanguard Ops, but when I read bringing back challenge, I was really thinking about high-end level stuff, making endgame difficulty more challenging in different ways, etc. Adjusting Vanguard Ops seems like improving the base level challenge in the game, which is still nice, I guess, but yeah, hoping that they do more on that front at the high end this year. Oh boy, here we go. Regarding PvP, in Season of Defiance, aka Season 20, Bungie will be adding Countdown back into the game along with a respawn variant of the game mode called Countdown Rush, where players will have to detonate/defuse both bombs on the map before the round ends. Jesus. They also want to do a few Crucible labs, including a new mode where the player sandbox is, quote, dramatically changed. Weapon damage, ability uptime, and even ammo are all being adjusted in a new mode tentatively called Checkmate Control, which will apparently reward players who, quote, use their smarts and skills from Bungie. So if the only way the enemy team has been able to shut you down in the past is a solo blade barrage, they might be in trouble. Okay, so far, loving all of that. I've always been going on stream about how we really need to take more advantage of Crucible labs, and now we're getting modes with an adjusted sandbox? Sign me up. Bungie is still committed to their PvP map plan, i.e. bringing back 2 old maps and making 1 new map in Lightfall. The old maps have now been revealed, both Meltdown in Season of the Deep and Citadel in the last season before the final shape. The new map is going to be a Vex-themed map dropping in Season 22. Bungie will also be doing a spawn retuning pass on many current maps in the game to improve how they flow. Joe goes on to admit that they don't yet feel that they've, quote, nailed the trade-off between fair matches and good connections, which I agree with. I don't know about you, but lately all of my games and trials lately have actually had kinda solid connections, but quick play, not so much. As they continue to tweak matchmaking, they'll also turn their eyes towards lobby balancing, which they hope to further improve. Bungie mentions that they want to continue to upgrade the meta systems that encourage people to play PvP. No real details at the moment, which is kind of a letdown. They are looking at the rewards and matchmaking structures of trials and want to push more updates to that mode this year in order to more consistently keep the population at healthier levels. Oh boy, kinda raising my eyebrow just a tad, as a part of me thinks that that may translate to add skill-based matchmaking to trials, which would be a very interesting conversation, I'll say, but I'll hold back on judgment until we hear more about what they plan on doing to trials later in the year. Finally, in the biggest dick punch I've received in quite a while, we get one sentence regarding competitive, and here it is. In competitive, we want to improve the speed at which players climb to the rank that most matches their Crucible skill and ensure it's clear why you won or lost the specific number of ranked points shown after a match. Cool. No word from Bungie about maybe making competitive a true ranked experience instead of what it currently is, which I think a lot of players are annoyed by. Gotta be honest, I was really hoping for much more info on the future of comp, which has kinda devolved into play 3 games, acquire rows, then off for the rest of the week. I really think it could be so much more. Moving on, not only will Bungie continue to create new exotic missions, but starting in Season 22, they'll be adding an exotic mission rotator. Like the Legacy Raid and Dungeon rotators, the exotic mission rotator will feature exotic missions from the past that rotate on a weekly cadence and offer great rewards. In Season 22, the rotator will contain exotic missions from Season 13, 16, and 19, Presage, Vox Obscura, and Operation Seraph Shield. Bungie hopes to take that framework and keep using it in the future to bring more of D2's classic missions back into the fold. A lot of people seem to be really hyped about the exotic mission rotators so far, but I gotta be real, I'm not seeing the appeal a ton. I guess for me it would depend heavily on how good those rewards are going to be. Again, there might be something I'm missing here, but be honest with me, are a lot of you out there gonna legit be excited to dive back into and replay Vox Obscura many times, even though you already have the Dead Messenger? Depending on the loot drops overall, I kinda don't really see the point, but if you enjoy those missions, good for you, I guess. Hope you enjoy doing them again. Moving on, Bungie will be refreshing strikes a wee bit in Lightfall, starting with changing both Lake of Shadows and the Arms Dealer. That is 100% no doubt because we as a community have abused and farmed the absolute crap out of those strikes over the years, every time they appear in GM Nightfall rotation. They are so fast and so easy to blow right through, and Bungie wants to make them harder along the same level as about either Lightblade or the Proving Grounds. They also want to take strikes that haven't been updated recently like Exodus Crash and Inverted Spire and dramatically reduce their presence in the Vanguard Ops playlist while eliminating them from Nightfall rotations. You can still launch them directly, but they won't show up as frequently as part of ritual gameplay. Alongside Lightfall, the Season 16 and 19 Battlegrounds will be added to the Vanguard Ops playlist, and Bungie will also be adding a selection of Battlegrounds as Nightfalls. That'll all begin with the Mars Heist Battleground being part of the rotation in Season of Defiance, and then expect more to follow with each season. TLDR, a fair amount of GM Nightfall shakeups coming, as 4 of the 6 Nightfalls coming in Lightfall are either new or refreshed content. Looking to the future, Bungie wants to start pushing both more rewards to ritual content and more options to engage with ritual content. That'll include changes like moving the initial source of obtaining exotic armor away from lost sectors and back into core rituals, which sounds good to me, provided they don't completely strip away exotics from lost sectors at all, because Papa needs his targeted farming, if you feel me. But yeah, for new players getting their first exotics, sure, why not? And also no longer asking players to earn all 3 of the ritual pursuit ornaments in seasonal challenges and allowing players to earn more new rewards and complete more of their weekly challenges by playing content of their choice. That rebalancing is going to be a slow burn over the year of Lightfall, and they're going to take a more direct approach in the last season of the year, dedicating a significant amount of development time towards a more core ritual focused season. That season will still have plenty of new content and story content according to Bungie, but they want to take that time right before the final shape to shape up the core rituals in D2. Regarding the Connect Our Guardians goals, goal, Joe starts to dive into the overall point of both Guardian rank and Commendations. Commendations are kind of an icebreaker, a way to thank players that you appreciated playing with. Commendations kind of read like titles. Pace Setter and Saint's Favorite are only available to be given out in trials, while others like Perceptive and Knowledgeable can be given out in raid or dungeon content. Commendations and Guardian rank together seem like a unique and new way of giving feedback on people you've played with, and also how much you help out other players in endgame level content. Bungie is also planning on changing our game-wide text channels from opt-in to opt-out, meaning more players will naturally be put into text channels, so you have more frequent opportunities to reach out to a fellow Guardian. Over time, they want to invest in deeper chat moderation, better filtering, and bigger features like speech to text. Nice to literally all of that. Great stuff. You definitely might have a few times though where you pop into the tower to check your postmaster and a group of people, or maybe sexy time furry role playing right in the local text chat in front of everybody and God, but for the most part, I'm sure this will be a fun, great change overall. The final piece of the social puzzle is Fireteam Finder. Bungie wanted it to drop that update this summer in Season 22, but felt that they didn't want it to go out half-baked, wink wink nudge nudge, and are instead pushing it out in the season right before the final shape. Bungie really kinda hypes up the Fireteam Finder, provided it all launches with all the features that they want it to have, and gotta be honest, I think that'll be an awesome addition to the game overall. Joe concludes by saying if anything happens and the roadmap changes, they will be sure to let us know. Final thoughts in a nutshell. Man, really hoping that they would have embellished a tad more on PvP, goddamn. Started off strong there for a little bit with new game modes, then kind of fell off with a whimper with no real discussion of potential changes to comp, which I think are desperately needed right now. Also, getting the feeling like Bungie and their battle with what to do with matchmaking is kinda a never-ending one, which is both maybe good and bad in a way. Also, huge lamau from me that the entire article has literally zero mention of Gambit. I mean, they do mention they want to tighten up core rituals before the final shape launches, but that's about it. And don't get me wrong, I'm actually okay if Bungie doesn't keep investing time and or money into Gambit. I think it's kind of third behind both PvE and PvP in the who cares chart, so I'm fine with them giving it the politely shove it into the corner and forget about it for a while treatment. But anyway, I want to hear from you. What changes or goals presented by Bungie did you like, and what did you not like? Sound off down below in the comment section as always. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on stream.